If you can hear me, just do a thumbs up. Dr. Swamy will just be joining in a minute. And today, Dr. Swamy will speak. He's been speaking, and you are all requesting him to speak on postponement of exams. And I believe it is important to save lives of students. And today would be a very interesting conversation on two parts. First part, I would tell you how Dr. Swamy knows more about education than anybody in India. Because a lot of you youngsters need to hear credible voices who know the subject. Dr. Swamy CV, because a lot of you are very, very young, you are giving exams. So would be also Dr. Swamy would be sharing why not to be disappointed, and would also share the importance of exams, because nobody knows it better than you. All know that he was a professor at Harvard, but he will talk a little bit about his student days, the challenges he faced, how he reached Harvard on a full scholarship, how he did his PhD in 1.5 years, not like some people in JNU who sit for 10 years to do PhD and freeload of taxpayers. So he will speak on all of that, and also the efforts he is making to postpone the exam. And in the end, in brief, 5-10 minutes, he will talk about Sushant Singh Rajput case. So all of you joining in for the first time, please do subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you keep getting notifications of important conversations that we do on this channel. So I will just welcome Dr. Swamy. Yeah, I think he's coming. 1 second. So I'll have to, sir, please.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you visible? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you're right. So thank you, Dr. Swamy. All the students today, in fact, Dr. Swamy, you would be, I almost saw more than 2.5 million people have tweeted, 25 lakh, saying, Swamiji, please help in NEET JEE postponement.
Yes.
They have come at the last minute, but you are trying your best. But before Dr. Swamy, we come to that. By this channel, I want to educate students. So a lot of them know you only as a professor at Harvard and a very senior politician. And some of them say very intimidating politician. But I would like you to talk when you were 19, 20, the age of most of these, youngsters watching it.
Yeah.
And you had gone to Hindu college, Dr. Swamy?
Yes.
1957.
My bachelor's degree in 1957. I joined and got the degree in 1960.
1960, Dr. Swamy. But Dr. Swamy, lot of controversy then happened when you went into ISI. So just what was the controversy about and what happened, Dr. Swamy?
Well, I had mathematics, after getting mathematics degree, of course, I'm top of the class. But what happened is that there was a new institution opened called Indian Statistical Institute in Baranagar, Calcutta. And it was, inspired by a figure who was known to be very close to Jawaharlal Nehru. He was a member of the Planning Commission, and he was the advisor. It was called the advisor to the Prime Minister, and he was supposed to be the author of the second 5-year plan, which of course flopped. But it was a pure pro-Soviet construction, and he was a FRS. He had an FRS, but not in economics, but in physics. And so he was dominating all the intellectual centers in India, which had anything to do with planning or economics and so on. So he decided to set up a institute called Indian Statistical Institute, where students were to be taken by competitive exams, because it was new, it was glamorous, and so there were a lot of people wanting to get in. So he held competitive exams, and he put minimum qualification as MA.
Okay.
In order to get in, because he was giving a degree, the institute was giving a degree called MStat. But they allowed people with first-class undergraduate degrees to take the exam, and if they qualified in the exam, they would be also admitted. So I was probably in my class the first, only one, who after a BA was qualified to get, to join, and I joined. My father was very unhappy because he was head of the Central Statistical Organization. In fact, he was the founder. Mahatma Gandhi especially had asked him. He was in the freedom movement. He was a professor of mathematics in Tamil Nadu. So Mahatma Gandhi said, no, we need people in the government now. So you go to Delhi. So he became, and Jawaharlal Nehru gave him the task of setting up the Central Statistical Organization. And so there was this rivalry between my father and
the founder of ISI.
And not because of any ideological, because my father was also left-wing.
Okay.
So, but there was no ideological problem. But this is normal jealousy, whether he'll get ahead or I'll get ahead. My father, of course, was not a fighter type. But he was a man of principles. And he told me that please don't go to this institution. This man is a very mean character. He will target you. So I said, well, those days I was an innocent boy, so I didn't know these things happen. So I went, joined, and of course in my class I was sparkling all the time, correcting the teachers, which I did later on at Harvard also. But I found that when my grades started coming, they were much lower than I had any expectation of. I mean, I thought I had done A-level, A-class paper answers, and they were coming any C and so on. And so in the second year, which was a 2-year course, at halfway through, Malnobis got a notice put on the board that my performance is terrible, and that if I don't improve, then I will be sacked. And of course, that notice upset all my family people. My relatives all said, what a thing, what a father so brilliant and the son so stupid, And my father also said, now I told you not to go, but now your career is being ruined by him. So perhaps you could become a apprentice in Bhilai steel plant, which was being opened, and rise to.
So your family wanted you to leave ISI midway.
They said you can't. They said there's nothing you can do. He'll fail you, and better you quit with your bachelor's degree. You can qualify to be a. So over the before we I reached this kind of a situation, already I had begun to see that I'm being discriminated against. So one day I was sitting in the library and just pondering, what do I do? I mean, my parents all didn't know by then that this crisis point is coming. So the librarian then went around putting all the latest copies of the journals. And then we had a very fine library, and there he put on before my table something called Econometrica, which is a highly prestigious journal. Because now many more journals are coming. Those days, economics and mathematical economics and statistics, mathematical statistics was rarely known. So it was a very privileged thing.
People should know about that journal, Dr. Swamy, that it was a peer-reviewed journal, so that the top minds of the world used to see a blind paper. So, Dr. Swamy, how does peer review work? Because
peer review works basically that people of the same thing, but I am department chairman, you are in another university, you want to come in. So, there 5 or 6 of them sit and then say, this is the guy we should bring in as a professor. So, the work of your equals evaluate you. It's a tough call, because always equals will always be feeling, well, maybe you should get ahead of me or something. Anyway, this journal had published the article of Mr. Malnobis, which I don't think he wrote it himself. He must have got one of the bright professors of ISI to write it. But when I looked at it, I said, it's all graphs and graphs and graphs. Let me put this in mathematics. And I put it was called fractile graphical analysis. It's really dealing with income distribution.
Okay.
So poverty, all these issues. So I said, let me put in mathematics. I put in mathematics, and I found that I had to do it by integral calculus, and I found that it is exactly what 300 years ago an Italian scholar called Lorenz, after whom Lorenz curve is even today it's a very famous thing. Gini and Lorenz are two famous names for income distribution. And I said, looks like a Lorenz curve mathematically, and this man has, literally bluffed us by taking a first derivative of this Lorenz curve. So I wrote it all out, but I didn't have much, I was in those days we were middle class people, didn't have any fancy papers, nothing. But I wrote. I didn't have typing facility, so I wrote with my hand the whole thing that I've read this and this is what I feel, and sent it to the journal. Now I forgot about it, and of course, by that time, after sending it, this notice had come, and so it looked to me the end.
So Dr. Swamy, just pause. Students, when you get pressure, Dr. Swamy, who had topped Hindu college, still today a very prestigious college, had gotten into ISI, the premier institute set up by a person who was very close to Nehru and integral part of planning commission. You have all read how important planning commission was, and he was an integral part of the planning commission. In fact, he prepared the second plan. So he was at the peak of his life with a new institute, and Dr. Swamy's name was on the blackboard that he might be flunked because of nothing to do with Dr. Swamy, who was acing the exams, because of rivalry between Dr. Swamy's father and that director. That can be a very difficult, dark time. And Dr. Swamy was told to become an apprentice in some steel plant or something.
Yeah.
And the director had published something in a very prestigious journal. Dr. Swamy said that's not original. That's basically a derivative. That's basically using somebody's own knowledge and passing it off as original to a man who was director and member of planning commission. Understand how difficult that is. Today, you can't even speak against your teacher. That was the head of the institution. So, Dr. Swamy.
So, anyway, but it went to a very, very fine professor of economics, mathematical economics, called Hautaker, Professor Hendrik Hautaker. He was a professor at Harvard, and he was asked to referee it. And Hautaker, of course, because he was a bit right-wing, the Swedish did not give him a Nobel Prize. They should have got it long before anybody got it. But anyway, Hautaker, who then became my very close friend when I entered Harvard, he was chairman of the admissions committee
of Harvard.
And he said to them that I have never believed, I myself didn't know this. Here's a guy who's sitting in India, who's 20 years old, and he is writing these equations. We got to get him. That's America, by the way. They recognize talent very easily. So I got one day a letter after this notice had been put on the notice board and all that, where it said that we are pleased to admit you to Harvard University for a PhD program, and we are giving you full scholarship, which will cover your tuition and your living costs.
Dr. Swamy, Indian college was failing you, basically, flunking you, basically, and Harvard, to a 20-year-old boy, says you come to us on a full scholarship. And you had not even applied for Harvard. You were flunking in because of political things. Yeah. And Harvard gives you a full scholarship at the age of 20.
Yeah, how could I apply when nobody would recommend me anyways? You have to get recommendation letters, this, that, So there was, of course, not all professors were not bogeless. There was one professor called R.R. Bahadur, I don't know what's that. He originally was teaching in statistics in Chicago. He was very encouraging. He said, listen, in this country you won't get anything. You try to go abroad. And I told him Harvard is he was very pleased, but I never saw him again. But the thing is that I got this scholarship. In the meantime, the journal had accepted the publication of my paper. And I became the second Indian ever to publish a paper in that journal, and it was a critique of Mr. Malnovis. So they had sent it to him
for
a comment. Rebuttal, yes. And when he got the thing, he shocked. He called me, and he said that I should be at his house. His residence was in the campus. I should be in his house at 4 p.m. at such day. I went, and he said, Shami, he used to speak with a Bengali accent. I know your father, and I'm so happy that you're here. But what you have done, who motivated you to do this? Who asked you to do it? I said, nobody. I was just sitting in the library reading it. I felt this is what I should say. So he said, no, this will ruin the institute's name. So many careers will be wrecked. All these students who have come, they will all be destroyed. So you write to the journal that that you are withdrawing it because they have sent me a letter of complaint.
Oh.
So I said, I don't think so, because they had informed me that they are sending it to you for rebuttal. So he said, he became silent, and he said, anyway, you withdraw it. I said, I cannot withdraw it. He said, your career will be ended, will be ruined. I promise you, I know everybody, including Jawaharlal Nehru and so on. I told him, you can do, but I've got a scholarship from Harvard. And they've asked me to come for PhD. So do what you like. So he said, you got an admission from Harvard? I said, yes. Then he wrote a letter to Harvard saying that this man is failing, this student is failing. I think he has misrepresented to you. Please have it double checked and withdraw it. If you want bright students from my institution, I can recommend names.
Oh.
So it went naturally to Hautakar. He wrote back saying, we only looked at his undergraduate report and this research paper. And a degree in the future from your institution is of no consequence in making the decision.
Dr. Swamy, even after you got admitted to Harvard on a scholarship which you didn't ask for, on a course which you didn't ask for, there was still time to pressurize you, intimidate you into withdrawing it, and threatening you that they will fail you.
And ruin my career.
And ruin your career. Because they knew the Prime Minister and everybody.
So the Harvard said no. So then there was a complete change. The next thing I know is that he has announced that there will be a felicitation meeting for me, and the notice board carried out that earlier notice was by mistake due to clerical error, and my grades are all back to A. So and then he has a meeting and he praises me, our student, first batch. I was the first batch because just been formed. And all this flowery thing, of course, I was not impressed. I was just kept quiet like a good diplomat that I was those days. So I went to Harvard. I broke the record because the minimum time you take to qualify to write a PhD thesis, for which you have to do a very extensive exam, oral, written. It takes most people 3 years, 4 years, sometimes even 5 years. And generally people don't pass in the first attempt. In the end of 6 months, I signed up for that and took the exam. And I came with flying colors. And did
your PhD in almost.
And then 1 year later, I did a PhD from the famous founder of the GDP concept, Simon Kuznets. And he was also a tough guy. He never gave anybody a PhD within before 7 years. That was his reputation. So, but I got it in 1 year. After 6 months, I qualified. And so within 1.5 years, I was now an assistant professor.
So students, you should know this. And I started with this. In 1.5 years, Dr. Swamy got a PhD from Harvard in those times when he had not even applied to go to Harvard. So he knows about education. And a person like him, when he is saying that this is not the right time for exam, that is what I wanted to bring. So Dr. Swamy, when you, and I know having worked with you, having had the privilege of working with you, that how much importance you place on education and reading and all. Why have you come out so vociferously saying that these exams right now should be postponed? what is the reason you have come to this conclusion, and then written to the Prime Minister and have been trying your level best at this last minute.
Yeah. See, what my life teaches me is education and exams are two different things. Education is when you are taught to be able to teach yourself. Start reading books on your own without guidance from. And so this is really a preparation. Now here we are at the most early stage of forming that kind of mind. And so there's a competitive exam. And everybody thinks that if he can get through these exams, then his career is on a fast track.
Yes.
So therefore, people go for IITs and this and that. So this NEET and JEE, all these are really avenues to put you in the fast track to a qualification which will be recognized later on for your employment and so on. So it's a whole life is staked on this. Now you're asking young students, all aspirants for a better life than their parents had, to go and take an exam under the most adverse circumstances. First of all, take somebody who's just sent me a message from Bombay. He says that no transportation. I live in New Bombay. How am I going to come to Bombay and travel? If I hire a taxi, I must get a taxi because their taxis are limited. And if all started using taxis, there'll be.
Also, sir, not everybody affords
that's another
private cab. That is
so those the commuter trains are the ideal thing. Stopped. So, two, it's a rainy season. Some places it is flooded, like in Bihar. Some small portions of Madhya Pradesh. All these factors are there. Third thing is, some states have declared lockout again. Haryana.
Yes.
So what are you doing? You are favoring the well-endowed students whose parents can insure by some limousine for them to come to the examination center.
Yes.
And you are discriminating against the poor. What do the poor students do? They are so idealistic. Already I'm told 20 people have committed suicide. Supposing they go to a center and the rain pours there and the center is closed, that means all that has been a waste. So what is the hurry? In Ayush exam, they have just now postponed it. They have postponed for so many others. Now, today I had a professor who used to be a professor at IIM telling me that what will these coaching classes people do? What will the universities do, which are almost in a shutdown? I said, for that you don't have to sacrifice the life of lakhs and lakhs of youngsters.
Not only youngsters, their families.
And their families will put in all the money for them to reach the stage. And what we are asking, let this marriage and this monsoon session be over. Let the festivities be over. Whatever muted, whatever it is, have it after Diwali. And that means only 6 months gone. Otherwise, you would have entered July. Now you will be entering in December or January. And so, I think that these are adjustable things. Supposing there's a war tomorrow, as our CDC, Mr. Rawat has announced, that we may go to war with China, then what will happen? Then what excuse there? Then what about the coaching class people and so on? So I am saying that please don't play with the lives of young people. Because I, as a professor, feel very strongly. I came from a middle-class family. And I became a brilliant economist. I was a professor, I broke records. I'm joint author with Paul Samuelson, which he has only in his entire life, he's a Nobel laureate. He's called the Einstein of economics. And only 5 people he has done joint papers with. And he did it on the theory of index numbers, which has become a classic. How did it happen? Because opportunities opened up. Now here, You are closing these opportunities, you're putting them in risk, you're putting them in stress. They already have the stress of the exam, then the stress of catching some kind of transportation, stress of reaching on time, stress of the fact that there will be sunshine on that day. All this stress, I think, is very cruel. And let me tell my colleagues in the BJP, do you know what happened in the emergency? Much more than people being arrested. It was the Nasbandi which created horror in the minds of the people. And they never forgot. They kept quiet. This is the Indian people. They'll keep quiet and they'll punish you at the first opportunity. Do we as a political party want to lose the youth of this country? And you can see from the Twitter, you can see it from Facebook, you can see how people are responding. I'm only saying, please put it up to after Diwali. And so that, everybody has some definiteness is there. But no, what is this? I don't understand this mule-like attitude. I think it's we owe first responsibility to the students and their welfare. Then only coaching schools and university admissions and so on. So if a university threatens you that we'll have to close down, we'll nationalize it. And we'll run it by printing notes.
So, Swami, also there is so much of mental anxiety in the
Yes.
students.
Yes.
And you wrote a letter, you listed out some
Yes,
of the
13 reasons.
13 reasons in that. And I was reading it. Including Dr. Swami, you said parliament with only 543
correct.
Members in Lok Sabha.
Yes.
And some staff from July got postponed and it's now probably in September. I don't think
Yes.
so the firm
No,
dates
I
out.
don't think. I think it won't be in August.
So, Dr. Swami, when it is parliament with only 543 gets postponed, here we are talking about only IIT-JEE is 25 lakh plus students,
Yes.
and other exams combined must be 40-50 lakh. Then their families to drop them
Yes.
to come.
And Parliament, we are all adults. We are accomplished people. We have already made our career. You see, these are people in the process of making their career. What tension there will be? It will lead to suicide. It has already led to some suicides. I don't want it to happen, you see. And have the blood of these youngsters on our head. So at least I should speak up if I'm not able to. But I have tried very hard. I've spoken to the education minister, not once but twice. I've written a letter to the PM. PM is aware of it because there's acknowledgement of it. And so I would urge the Prime Minister, please don't put all of us in this difficult situation. And we'll all sink together, and that's no pleasure for anybody. Because these Indians have a long memory. They never forget when an injustice has been done. And that is why we are able to win in the end all foreign invasions. The Mughals lasted 600 years. Islamic invasion lasted 600 years, but ultimately we defeated them. The British, 150 years, we defeated them. So we have overcome so many things. We have overcome a Chinese attack in 1962. We have overcome famines. We have overcome. Indians are people who work with a memory. And that's why we are a continuing civilization. Don't play with it. I urge the Prime Minister, this will be your biggest mistake. It'll be like Waterloo for you and for us. I mean, we are in it together. If the Prime Minister goes down, we all go down.
So, Swami, the students are asking, and I tweeted that keep studying very hard. Prepare as if it's going to be held.
I will tell you from my life, the only thing you can do to damage yourself is to lose hope. If something bad happens, know this will pass. This is what Krishna says in Gita. Events are decided by me. Your job is only to do your best. Keep your hope. Remain steadfast. So I tell the people, yes, anything happens. Don't be bothered by the outcome of it. That may produce, the outcome of Mr. Mahalobis giving me bad grades and led me to write that paper. And that transformed everything. Mrs. Gandhi removed me from a professorship of IIT. I ended up being a member of parliament and sending her to jail. So life is not a straight line. That you build on this, you build on this. It's a cyclic curve. And there will be ups and downs, but your mood must be hopeful and say, okay, I rise again to fight. So, yes, we are going to try very hard to get it postponed, but never must you lose hope about the future.
Dr. Swamy, also there are people who are talking about asthma problems and having to wear a mask. See, travel time you have to wear a mask. Center you have to report before the exam. Exam you have to sit. That would be 7-8 hours of wearing a mask in this pressure.
Yeah.
That would also have its own.
No, I'm saying supposing one of the invigilators or one of the supervisors has corona. You'll come back, you got a 75-year-old grandfather. You'll give it to him?
Yes.
I mean, how do you... young people can recover fast, but the old people, is a dangerous thing. So, what are you doing? That's why I listed 13 reasons. And those 13 reasons, there's no answer. Except that, no, we have got to do it, we have got to fill the universities, they are all empty. Not at the cost of human lives. Not in the cost of driving people nuts.
Friends, I will add the link of those 30 reasons in this YouTube video. Also, a letter I wrote to the Education Minister in the video. So in the description, my team will add it and you can see the reasons in depth. And Dr. Swamy, now last 5-7 minutes, because I know you have to go.
Yeah.
You tweeted on the stomach contents of Sushant Singh Rajput. That's another big issue, which frankly, after you are taking a lead in it, what you promised has happened in that issue.
Yes.
That was also very late. But the CBI investigation, which you promised, has happened. And we all believe that CBI will do a fair job.
Yes, they're very good. The CBI director has chosen very good people to do this investigation. And our forensic is going to be done by Dr. Sudhir Gupta, who showed his mettle when the Sunanda case was there.
People should read about how Dr. Sudhir Gupta was attacked, persecuted, tried to be removed from job in Sunanda Pushkar case. So he's a strong man. He is a strong man and he would be doing, because he is heading the AIMS forensic department, he would be doing it. Even though, again, it's... so Dr. Swamy, I just wanted one specific question, Sushant Singh. You tweeted about the stomach contents and how important they are, and Shri Devi case and all. So just something on that.
No, you see, there is a very small window during which he has died. Because when he woke up in the morning, he called up his sister. That's on record. 9 a.m. And then at 11:30, the door is not opening. So somewhere in that has happened. Who was the one who visited him? I know that one Ayaz Khan or somebody who is known as a drug peddler in Bombay and has a strong Dubai connection. He had a meeting with him. I've put it out on Twitter. I've sent the message to the concerned people that, please locate him. Because he is well known in the stomach, what was in his stomach was never analyzed. They rushed through autopsy. The body arrives and the police calls them up and said, do it now. And they therefore give a provisional. And they say we have sent the viscera to the forensic department. Now, the forensic department, I have heard from informed sources, the Delhi team that went, they said, what kind of forensic department is this? There's nothing to show that he was not first poisoned or drugged, and then in the name of hanging, they just strung him, if at all. Because there's no photograph. Why is there no photograph? You see, if autopsy, they don't even have the time of estimated time of his death.
That's shocking. That's a big.
There's a big entry. It becomes ipso facto infructuous.
Yes. Dr. Swamy, I know you have to go, but we will do a separate video on Sushant Singh Rajput because people are really asking for it. This was focused especially on
we are not going to leave this issue till justice is brought to the crooks or crooks are brought to the justice.
Well, Dr. Swamy has, people keep tweeting to me that Dr. Swamy has said this, and I keep saying them, my promise was till CBI. That is done. Now it is Dr. Swamy.
Now, by popular demand, they want you to continue. I've seen those tweets also.
So, Dr. Swamy, last message to students. What would you say to them to have their mental, balance restored and to study? Because this is last minute. You are trying your best. But what would you tell the students?
A simple thing I'm saying, do your best. Let the results be the work of God. I mean, you must have that faith. I've had that faith. It's always worked every time. When people had said my career is over, or this has happened, I've lost 1 or 2 elections also due to this. That's why I did this. So my enemies, when they saw me getting bigger and bigger, they tried to get me defeated this way. But anyway, never lose hope. Never be disappointed with the result. Only be disappointed if you have not done your best. That is in your hands. And that's what Gita teaches. If at any time you can start learning Gita, you will be a perfect man. You see, particularly chapter 12, where the Lord says, who is dear to me? And he gives 9 characteristics of a person who would be dear to Lord Krishna. And so you follow that, and you will never have tension. The tension is a destruction of people. You know, people ask me at this age, how can you be so energetic? I said, because I have no tension. So what happened to your tension? I said, you transferred it to other people.
So please don't be tense. Study hard as if exams are happening. Dr. Swamy is trying his level best to get it postponed so that none of you has to face mental or physical risk. Thank you for listening and be relaxed.
Bye.
All right.